if you're a Nigerian, I want to make one request of you. Just one request. Join hands with me and let us properly divide Nigeria. What if I told you that there was a way to properly divide Nigeria? What would you say? Is it necessary? Do we need to? Nigeria is already heavily divided along ethnic lines, political lines, and religious lines, and other lines. But this division is wrong. This division is a division that is put in place by the political elites to benefit themselves and keep Nigeria perpetually subservient, perpetually enslaved to them and to their masters, their slaver masters. So, if Nigeria is already divided, why are Nigerians asking for Nigeria to be divided? Okay, we're talking about political division now. Okay, no, division along state lines so that we can have different countries, right? Okay, all of these divisions are still wrong. There's a division that is right for Nigeria, and I want to beg you, please support me. Join me, let us properly divide this Nigeria. Let us properly divide Nigeria so that Nigeria can move forward. Until we divide Nigeria properly, Nigeria will continue to remain the way it is, and the Nigerians who are the citizens, who are the majority, will continue to be second-class citizens in their own country. We need to properly divide Nigeria. Now, how do we do it? We need to understand something. Every time a topic is introduced in Nigeria right now, something happens immediately. Nigerians are divided into each of these three divisions that I talked about earlier, which are wrong for Nigeria. Every time we talk about solving Nigeria, fixing Nigeria, and we talk about somebody being a perfect candidate for fixing Nigeria, immediately you discover that Nigerians become divided along ethnic lines, religious lines, and political party affiliation lines. Why do I say this? We all know that corruption is a problem in Nigeria. It is a problem. Even though in a previous video, I have said that it is not exactly a problem, it is a symptom of the problem. Okay, whether it is a symptom of the problem or whether it is a problem, what we know is that corruption is not making things work for majority of Nigerians. Corruption is not letting the general population of Nigeria, the poor masses, enjoy the dividends of democracy, enjoy what it is they would have enjoyed if Nigeria were working well. So corruption is a problem. Now, why is it that it is so difficult, so impossible to fix the problem of corruption in Nigeria if we all agree that it is a problem? It is because every time we talk about a solution, something happens. And that is Nigerians become divided along those three lines that I talked about. Religious lines, ethnic lines, political party affiliation lines. Look at what happened in 2023 during the presidential elections of February 25. Many people supported Peter Obi. Now, the argument was that Peter Obi had a fantastic track record, but nobody cared about those track records anymore. At least majority of the people from the official outcome of the elections, nobody cared anymore because immediately you mentioned Peter Obi, Nigeria was immediately divided into either Muslim or Christians or North versus South or ethnicity. See, the same thing happened when you mentioned Tinubu or you mentioned Atiku. In fact, for Tinubu, the phrase Yoruba Lokan or Emi Lokan became synonymous with the fact that anybody who dared say that Tinubu was not the right person because of his baggage, his antecedents, Nigerians became divided almost immediately because, in fact, for Yorubas who were seen not to support Tinubu, they were called traitors, they were called bastards because they did not support a Yoruba person. So the throwing up of the name of Tinubu for president of Nigeria divided Nigerians along religious, ethnic, and political party affiliation lines. In fact, the additional fact of adding a Muslim ticket also pushed that religious division even further. Now, what is the problem with all of these divisions? And why is it that they always occur? It is because we do something in our politics. We are pushing politics of individuals instead of politics of institutions. However perfect Peter Obi is, every time you mention him, because he's an individual, we had divisions, not minding the fact that he had perfect and wonderful credentials. The same thing happens with Tinubu, all right? So what are we supposed to do? Now that the elections are over, let us properly divide Nigeria into the proper division that will allow for the growth and development of Nigeria. What is that division? We need to divide Nigeria, not into separate countries. I know that's what some of you would want, but that's not going to be a solution, because if you watched my video about the true cause of the problems of Nigeria, you will discover that dividing Nigeria into separate countries will not stop the problems we are facing right now. It will only change the people who will be in charge of oppressing us, because those that are pulling the strings and being responsible for the problems of Nigeria are doing it from outside. All right, so now we need to divide Nigeria into two groups. Two groups. And what is that two group? We need to divide Nigeria properly into the group of the oppressed and the group of the oppressor. Once we do this, you see that when we talk about a solution that can particularly do this, that can divide Nigeria into the group of the oppressed and the group of the oppressor, once we can do this, you'll see that Nigeria will move forward. Right now, if I talk again now that, oh, Peter Obi should come for 2027, already those who are masters of creating division will swing into power and begin to divide us along these three lines. Rather than have this, we should rather divide Nigeria into two groups, the group of the oppressed and the group of the oppressor. So question, how do we divide Nigeria into the group of the oppressed and the group of the oppressor so that Nigeria can develop and work for every single citizen of Nigeria? How do we do that? It is actually very simple. It is not so hard. The problem is that we have not taken time to properly diagnose what the problems of Nigeria is and to come up with solutions that will unify us and cause the proper division that will lead to growth. Look, not all divisions are problematic. Sometimes, of course, you know that for growth to happen, cell division has to take place. In this case, for Nigeria to develop and grow, this kind of division of Nigeria into the oppressed versus the oppressor needs to take place. And for that to happen, we need to start talking about solutions. Solutions that will make it happen. What are these solutions? Solutions that strengthen institutions. Look, all of this problem of Nigeria will disappear if we do the 5 things that I mentioned in the other video. The 5 things that we need to do to survive Tinubu in this year 2024. And what are those 5 things? I'll just mention them and then I'll explain why these 5 things will divide Nigeria into the necessary group of oppressed versus oppressor and how it will make Nigeria develop and grow within a very, very short time. Now, what are these 5 things? Number 1, we have to enact the Free Food and Social Welfare Law. Number 2, we have to enact the Medical Tourism Prohibition Law. Number 3, we have to enact the Educational Tourism Prohibition Law. Number 4, we have to enact the Small Business Startup Support Law. And number 5, we have to enact the Anti-Corruption Amnesty Law. These 5 laws, once we enact them, you will see that Nigeria will develop within a very, 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 very short time. Look at the videos that are making the rounds concerning Dino Melaye in Dubai, pushing for people to invest in Dubai. Come on. You see, these kind of videos are the videos that are the things that make it difficult for Nigeria to develop. When the leaders are talking about investment that will potentially benefit foreign factors and not Nigeria as it is called conflict of interest. So for Nigeria to work, for the citizens to be free to choose the right person, we have to choose solutions that actually divide us appropriately. And this is the best way to do it, to choose and enact these 5 laws. This is how we divide Nigeria so that Nigeria can grow. What do you think? Let us know. Because the task of fixing Nigeria is a task that all of us must do. You cannot sit idly by and say it not concern you because you're one of those 2 million people that are benefiting from the corruption in the system right now. Think about it. If Nigeria works for everybody, it will still benefit you. So what do you have to lose? Let's make it work. Not if not for anything, for the sake of patriotism, for the sake of our national pride, for the sake that, think about it, would you like to be a slave in your own country? If not, let us divide Nigeria properly so Nigeria can grow.